In today's recap of Undercover Boss, we bring you two exciting episodes featuring the most generous bosses in Undercover Boss history.
A check for $250,000.
Oh my god. No. No.
We'll first start with the president of Roto-Rooter and then continue to the CEO of Models as they'll find the best employees and reward them. And in our first episode, this boss will reward an employee with a brand new van. We will first start with the president and COO of Roto-Rooter, Rick Arquilla.
I'm president and chief operating officer of Roto-Rooter.
Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Roto-Rooter is the largest plumbing and drainage company in North America. They serve approximately 90% of the United States population and have now expanded across the world. Rick grew up in a poor family, and his father was also an alcoholic, which made life very difficult for Rick. But that didn't really stop him from becoming a top student, and after graduating college, he joined the business world and worked his way up the corporate ladder. Rick will be going undercover as Hank, and his employees will be told that they're getting filmed training a new recruit to celebrate the company's 75th anniversary. For his first job, Rick travels to New Orleans to work as a general technician.
Today I'm going to go out with a general technician. We're going to do the bread and butter stuff, what Roto-Rooter's been doing since 1935, and that's cable and drains.
He meets up with Daryl, and he takes him on the road to a customer's home, and they first work on a tub, and Daryl instructs him on how to unclog it. Rick follows his instruction, and after some trial, he pulls out a towel that was clogging the tub. They next go to another customer's home and unclog a sink, and because Daryl was a great teacher, Rick learns fast to do the job really well. On their break, Rick learns that Daryl had a heart condition, which took him out of work for 4 months, and in this time, he didn't get paid, so he took out all his savings and then had to borrow from people to support his family.
He's had some heart problems, he's been off of work, and he had to borrow money. I'm sure that wasn't easy.
For their last job of the day, they fix the drain of the bathroom, which takes them until late at night. For his next job, Rick travels to Chicago, Illinois to work in a call center.
I'm here in Chicago at the call center. This is where we take the phone calls from the customer and dispatch the work to the technicians.
And he meets up with Candace, and she first explains to him about their system. Rick has helped create this computer system, but now he struggles to follow up with Candace and couldn't understand what all the color codes meant because he was colorblind.
Am I confusing you?
Yeah, see, I'm colorblind.
Candace then moves on to training him about how to take requests from customers, but Rick again struggles to follow her instruction, and he also starts doing things before she fully explains to him, which really begins to frustrate her.
Okay, now what?
No, hold on. The next question that you're going to want to ask the customer is the zip
Your
code.
zip code.
No, wait, you have to listen first, okay?
They then go on a break, and Rick learns that Candace is a single mom with a 2-year-old son that has autism, and she can't really afford to pay for daycare, so her parents look after her son. After they break, they return to the job, and Rick takes a customer call, and he seems to start off okay, but again, he has problems with letting people finish talking as he keeps talking over the customer. Candace then further explains to him on how to interact with customers, and he sees how much she values her customers, and she was very attentive and helps out the customers with anything that they needed. For his next job, Rick travels back to New Orleans to work as a sewer maintenance specialist.
Today I'm back at the New Orleans branch. I hope to get out on a jet truck. Simply put, it's blasting water through a pipe.
And he meets up with Chris, and he takes him on the road to a nursing home. They then start putting in the pumping tube into the sewer, but Rick struggles a little to push the tube far enough. Chris then helps them out, and they get it all in, and they manage to drain out the sewage. Chris then tells Rick to wash out all the sewage on the street while he takes a call, but Rick stops doing his job and starts walking around as soon as Chris leaves. On their break, Rick learns that Chris has been working for the company for 6 years, but before that he was an alcoholic and had substance problems as well, which ruined his life. But he then went to rehab and turned his life around.
Problem. I actually had to go through rehab. 6.5 years later, I'm standing right here in front of you.
For his next job, Rick stays at New Orleans to work in the emergency plumbing department. He meets up with Henry, so Rick was excited to work with him and find out what makes Henry special. They drive to a customer's home and work to find out what's causing the draining issue. They then find a drain pipe that had holes in it and needed a full replacement, but the customer, who was an elderly woman, didn't have the $1,500 to pay for the new materials. Henry then reconsiders the price and tells her that she only needs to pay $500, and Rick was taken aback by what he was seeing. Rick is a commission-based employee, so when he is making a discount, he's not taking the money from the company, rather, he's taking the money out of his own personal pocket to help this elderly woman.
Can you do 5?
Thought about it and I realized Henry works on commission, so he was taking money out of his own pocket.
Rick also sees Henry gets a lot of calls from other technicians asking him for help, and he always picks up his phone and helps them out. He also learns that Henry teaches basketball to kids for free, so after work, they go together to the court, and Henry didn't really want these kids to spend their time in the streets, so after work, he teaches them basketball.
It's amazing how much time Henry and his wife spend shuttling the kids back and forth to practice, and they ask for nothing in return.
For his last job, Rick travels to Des Moines, Iowa to work in the manufacturing plant.
I'm here in Des Moines, Iowa this morning. This is the factory where we make the Rotor-Rooter machines that our plumbers use out in the field.
He meets up with Dan and he first teaches him on how to weld metal. Rick then tries to apply what he learned, but he kept messing up. On their break, Rick learns that Dan has been with the company for 13 years, but he isn't sure that he's going to be staying for some more time because of the economic turndown, and he explains that everyone is afraid that they're going to lose their job, and that the company will shut down the plant and move it to overseas. Finally, Rick's undercover time comes to an end, and he invites his employees to reveal his true identity. So guys, if you're enjoying this episode, just wait for the next boss who will give away $250,000. But for now, let's come back to the episode at hand. First, to find out Rick's true identity is Daryl, and he tells him that he's a very valuable employee to the company, and he also goes on to say that he's gonna get paid for the time that he was out because of his illness.
I get a feeling that not only because he's president of the company, but it's a personal thing that he gets involved. That really means a lot to me.
Next in was Dan, and he tells him that he appreciates his hard work, and he then assures him that the company will not shut down the manufacturing plant, and he also gives him a garage to work on his passion projects.
Knowing that they care about our feelings and what our concerns are makes you feel better about your job because they do care.
Next in was Candace, and he tells her he loves how much he cares about the customer's need, and he offers to pay for her son's treatment, and on top of that he gives her $5,000 so she can pay for her mortgage.
I am so happy and overwhelmed and incredible.
Next in was Henry, and he tells him that he was inspired by him, both by his work ethic and by the things that he does after work, and he gives him a 15-seater van that he can use to take the kids to practice. And on top of that, he goes on to promote him to a supervisor position.
When you do the right thing, it pays off, I guess.
Last in was Chris. He tells him that he's a great employee and commends him for going through rehab, and he then offers to bring him on tour to teach people about his experience.
You can't let Rick down, but I can't. Main thing is I don't want to let myself down or let somebody else down who needs the help.
Let us now follow our next boss, the CEO of Modell Sporting Goods, Mitchell Modell.
I'm Mitchell Modell, CEO of Modell Sporting Goods.
Headquartered in New York City, Modell Sporting Goods sells authentic footwear, clothing, and sporting equipment to more than 10 million customers. With an annual revenue of more than $600 million and employing 3,800 people, Modell's is America's largest family-owned sporting goods store. The company was founded in 1898 by Mitchell's great-grandfather, and it started as a very small business, selling small amounts of clothes, and then in the 1950s, Mitchell's father got the business into the sporting goods arena. The company now operates 154 stores in 11 states, and they are still growing. The company is also a big sponsor to big teams like the New York Yankees, the Mets, and the Brooklyn Nets. This gives them the privilege to get team merchandise first and dominate the market. Mitchell grew up learning everything about the business by working every job, and in 1987, his father made his brother and him co-president of the company, and together they grew the company's revenue from $18 million to $443 million. But a few years ago, Mitchell's brother died of cancer, and this was very tough for Mitchell as he was very close with his brother, and they also complemented each other in the way they ran the company, but now he has to do it all alone. Mitchell's planning to open 10 stores this year, and and he wants to go undercover to see how things are run in the stores, which will help him figure out issues and fix them. He'll be going undercover as Joey, a former pizza store owner that lost his business and now wants to get into a new business. For his first job, he travels to Milford, Connecticut to work as an assistant manager. He meets up with James and he takes him to the shirt section and shows him how to properly fold them and stock them in the shelves. He then tells Mitchell to dress up a mannequin by himself, and Mitchell then tries his best, but he struggles to even get the clothes on the mannequin properly.
The guy fighting you back?
I can't get his arm in here. I got one arm.
You got one off, okay.
This specific store had been underperforming, and Mitchell sees the problems, not the employees, so he asks James what he thinks the issue is. James tells him that they don't really get all the products, even though they've reportedly asked for them. Mitchell, wanting to know more about the issue, starts asking very specific questions about how the stores get shipping, which makes James quite suspicious. After their talk, James goes around and asks the other employees if they think the guy is Mitchell, and everyone starts staring at him to try to figure it out, but none of them could be sure, so James decides to confront him and asks him directly if he is indeed Mitchell. Mitchell tries to act like he doesn't know who James is talking about, but this doesn't convince James, so he reveals his true identity to him.
I am Mitchell Modell.
I thought you were much taller.
He then asks James about his honest opinion regarding the company, and James says that their stores don't really get treated equally as the stores in New York, and he tells him that they don't really get most of the good products, which is lowering sales massively, but the employees are the ones getting blamed for the underperformance. Mitchell thanks James for being honest with him, and then he calls the COO of the company and orders him to fix the situation. For his next job, he travels to the Bronx, New York, to work as a shipping associate.
Today I'm in the Bronx at the Modell's distribution center, working with a shipping associate.
And there he meets up with Christopher, and he takes him to the packing area and teaches him how to pack the boxes. Mitchell does pretty good here, so they move on to the forklift area. Christopher shows him how to drive the forklift and transport the boxes, but Mitchell struggles to drive the forklift, so he gives him a pallet, but Mitchell still struggles with that as well. Christopher then helps him out and they finish the job together, and later, Christopher learns that Mitchell is looking to open his own store, so he tells him to treat his employees well and pay them fairly, as Models only pays minimum wage.
Make sure that you treat them fairly and you pay them fairly, okay? Because look at me, I'm doing manual labor for minimum wage.
For his next job, Mitchell stays in the Bronx to work as a truck driver.
Today, I'm back at our distribution center. The drivers are the link between the distributions and the store.
And he meets up with Kirk, and he teaches him how to drive the truck. Mitch then takes over and tries to drive the car, but he again struggles to control the truck and almost crashes. Kirk then takes back control and they go on the road to deliver merchandise to stores. And during the drive, Mitch learns that truckers are not always treated fairly and that management has ignored their needs for a long time.
He's probably turning in his grave today. He probably can't believe that I would be so distant from the reality of what's going on in these stores.
For his last job, he travels to Washington, D.C. to work in a store.
Today, I'm in one of our stores that we've just opened last year. I will be working with one of our managers of the apparel department.
He meets up with Angel, and she shows him how to properly greet customers. Angel's a very attentive employee and always tends to the customer's needs, which makes Mitchell happy. She's also a great teacher, so he learns fast from her and does the job pretty well. On their break, he learns that Angel is living in a homeless shelter, and even though she has a new job now, it's still not enough to get her and her children to a new home.
It's, we've been homeless for a long time. We live in a shelter now. It doesn't
You
even...
live in a shelter? What kind of shelter?
It's a homeless shelter.
Mitchell's undercover time finally comes to an end, and he invites his employees to reveal his first identity. First in was James, and he first thanks him for giving him an honest feedback, and then gives him a promotion and offers to pay for a fully paid vacation.
This is definitely gonna be where I can sit back and relax and not have to worry for once.
Next in was Christopher, and he tells him that he was a great employee, and then offers him a 90-day no-skip work challenge in which if Christopher completes it, he'll be getting a $20,000 reward.
Because honestly, I haven't heard something like that in a while. Now that he's giving me the opportunity to do right, I'll make sure I do right.
Next in was Kirk, and he tells him that he has immense respect for his work, and he then offers him a promotion and gives him a $50,000 bonus on top of that.
All he wanted is the bottom line, but Mitchell took the time to sit down with us and see the ins and outs of the company, and I really feel the Motors appreciate us now.
Last in was Angel, and he tells her that he was very impressed with her and offers her a promotion, and he then gives her $250,000 so she can get her own home and raise her children properly.
Going back to the shelter anymore, then we're gonna have our own place.